All right, that's good to hear. Welcome, everyone. Today we will be doing a writing class. So if you haven't looked at the schedule yet, I'll quickly show you guys what we're planning to do today. So I'm just going to share my screen right now. So today we're going to be going, this is the writing, this is a week 1 schedule. And today we're doing a writing class. We're going to be going over relative clauses, prepositional phrases, idioms, subject-verb agreement, modifiers, run-ons, and fragments. All right. So that's all we're going to be doing today. And before we start, we're going to ask you guys to fill out the survey real quick. All right. Looks like everyone submitted, so let's just get into it. All right. So firstly, today we're going to go over relative clauses. All right. So what are relative clauses? Relative clauses are, in essence, dependent clauses that describe a noun. So, like, if we were given the example, let me just write one example out. Let's say we have the tiger ate my grandma, right? This is just a normal sentence, right? The tiger ate my grandma. We could add a relative clause and say the tiger that ate my grandma got shot. Just say that, right? Firstly, we have this relative pronoun over here, something that starts the relative clauses, a relative pronoun that. And then it's describing what the tiger did. It ate his grandma, right? His or her grandma. So that's basically how a relative clause is used. It's mainly used to describe a noun. And it always starts off with relative pronouns. Oops. Sorry if my typing's really loud. But the relative pronouns. These are the relative pronouns, all right? So do you guys get what's going on so far? Anybody lost yet? Or is everyone good on this so far? All right. So if you guys are good with this. Okay, so we're now gonna this is part of relative clauses in essence. There's also comma phrases, right? So comma phrases are in essence a phrase that contains quote unquote unnecessary information that is set off by commas, right? So if we had a sentence like the tiger, or let's say the deer ate the berries, which were nice and juicy, and he died. Let's just say that. You see here how we have this kind of somewhat unnecessary information that we can kind of just cross out, but it's set off by commas. The deer ate the berries and he died, right? If you cross this out, the sentence still flows well. It doesn't sound too awkward, right? So we can acknowledge that this is a comma phrase. Do you guys get that? Too easy. All right. So I'm going to give you guys some examples real quick, and I want you guys to answer in the chat what you think. All right, guys. I want you guys to tell me any of the phrases in this sentence that are either comma phrases or relative clauses. Oh, it made better. All right. So most of you guys did get this part right, that this is the comma phrase right here. Let's just cross this out, which is sometimes harmful to humans. It's kind of like unnecessary information. Some critics of animal testing claim it cruel and inhumane. The sentence still flows without it, right? So that's an even better indicator that this is a comma phrase. We also have this, although it may better mankind, right? It's kind of unnecessary information, so we can cross this out. It's kind of set off by this comma here. Right? Some critics of animal testing claim it cruel and inhumane. Do you guys get that? All right, cool. I'm going to give you guys one more example, and then we'll get into the next topic. Give you guys a little bit of time to do this one. Tell me any comma comma phrases, or any relative clauses within the sentence. Okay, so for this one, we don't have any commas anywhere, so we can't really say it's a comma phrase, right? The purpose of comma phrase is to set off some information with commas, right? So there's no comma phrase in the sentence. But when we read the sentence, we see the relative pronoun that, right? And if we look at this phrase, the words after that had fallen to the bottom of the ocean, this is describing the treasure, right? The lost ship's treasure. It's describing the noun. So this is a relative clause that had fallen to the bottom of the ocean. Do you guys get that? All right. Looks like no one has any questions. So let's get into the next topic, which is going to be prepositional phrases. All right. So first question, what is a preposition? A preposition is a word used to describe the relation between another word or element, right? So, and most prepositions are direction or position words, right? Because it's describing its relation to another word, right? So let's, I'm going to give you guys this list real quick of prepositional words. It's a good thing that you guys just get familiar with them. There's no need to memorize all of them, but you should definitely get familiar with most of them, especially the ones bolded here, like for, from, in, into, by, with, because these are things that you can, some people forget that it kind of is a relation of, at, to. You guys should definitely get yourself familiar with these. And in essence, a thing you guys can remember, it'll really help you when it comes to subject-verb agreement questions and such, that prepositional phrases are not essential to the sentence they're in, right? While they do have important details, right? They can stand to get a sentence can stand by itself, grammatically correct, without one, right? So let's. I'll give you guys an example. When we see this sentence, right? Hilly got into the boat for the short trip to Haiti, right? We see a prepositional phrase right away, right? Into. It says on the chart, and it also is kind of a position, right? They're into the boat. So we can automatic, and we'll look at this phrase, into the boat for the short trip to Haiti. We can cross this whole thing out, right? This is not a good example of the not essential to the sentence thing, but I hope you guys are understanding how this is a prepositional phrase. Do you guys get this so far? How this is a prepositional phrase? All right. So let's say, all right. I want you guys to tell me in the chat what the prepositional phrase is here, or the prepositional phrase is. Okay, so a lot of you guys are saying within. So most of you guys are in the right track. Within it is correct, but not the seeds of its own destruction. This is not a part of the prepositional phrase. Within it, right? Everything a man creates carries within it, within the thing a man creates. The seeds, this is not part of the prepositional phrase of either this one or this one, which starts of its own destruction, right? Of is a preposition, right? So this is its own prepositional phrase too. I'm just going to cross it because I'm just used to that. But the seeds are not part of either of these prepositional phrases, so they would not be included. I just want you guys to notice that. Otherwise, you guys seem to be on the right track. Do you guys get that? All right, cool. So I'm going to give you guys one more question, just so you guys can, I want to make sure you guys understand this. I want you guys to tell me the prepositional phrase or phrases in this sentence. All right. People are getting different answers. So we found Johnny in a preposition in a drugstore. Okay, this is just going to be a prepositional phrase. Looking is not a part of the phrase, so we're going to ignore this. For medicine, another preposition word, and this continues throughout the phrase. So for medicine. So these are going to be the two prepositional phrases. Do you guys get that? All right. So we're going to get into idioms now. I think a lot of people mess up on the SAT. All right. So in essence, on the SAT, we can imagine idioms are just phrases that are correct because the way we say them. And this may like sound really weird to you guys, but that's in essence what an idiom is on the SAT. The best way you're gonna get used to like learning how idioms are used and everything, you have to read a lot, and you'll just get used to it, and you'll know what's wrong from what's right. So here, I'll give you guys, I'll show you guys an example real quick. So let's say the painting is similar with the red one. This is wrong. What is up with this with over here, right? Instead, we can use to, the preposition to. The painting is similar to the red one, right? Just the way we say it. It's not awkward anymore, and it makes sense. Do you guys get that? All right, so I'm going to give you guys a few examples. If you just read a lot, I guarantee you guys will have no problem with this. But that's the problem. People don't read a lot, and that's why they do have a problem with this. So let's do this. I have an interest in fishing. Can you guys tell me what's incorrect here and what we should change it to, possibly? It should be, I have an interest, in fishing. All right. I'm going to give you guys one more problem. Can you guys tell me what's wrong with this sentence and if we should possibly replace it with something else? Yeah, okay, so there's two things. We could say with, the winner of the race was rewarded with a gold medal. Or we can say the winner of the race was rewarded a gold medal. Right? Do you guys get that? What we're going to do now is get on to subject-verb agreement. In essence, most of you guys should know this, but subject-verb agreement is basically where the subject and the verb tenses agree. So a singular subject has to go with a singular verb. Likewise, for a plural subject, has to go with the plural verb. All right, so let's have it. Let's use an example sentence. So the problem here is that we have the subject we, a plural subject having a singular verb, wakes. What we need is a plural verb, which would be wake. Every day the alarm clock goes off and we wake up to confront our lives. We have the plural subject, and we have the plural verb with wake. So now it's grammatically correct. Do you guys get that? All right, cool. So I'm going to give you guys a few questions. So films by Miyazaki and Itami, including Miyazaki's Spirited Away, excite or excites the imagination? I want you guys to tell me your answer in the chat. Okay, so you guys are right, excite, but Ryan, no, it's excite. Okay. Now, Ria, your explanation is incorrect, however. You're talking about imagination, but the subject of this is films. Films by Miyazaki and Itami, right? Look at this comma phrase we have over here. Remember what we can do when we read the sentence, especially for subject-verb agreement? We can just ignore it. Films by Miyazaki and Itami, including Miyazaki's Spirited Away. So let's just cross that out. Films by Miyazaki and Itami excite or excites the imagination? We have to use excite, right? Because we have a plural subject. We need a plural verb. And thus our answer is excite. You guys get that? All right, cool. I'm going to give you guys one more. Fork and knives are in the kitchen, and the jar with the peanut sauce has or have been sitting in the refrigerator. I want you guys to tell me the answer in the chat. All right, yep, most of you, I think everyone got this right, actually. We have the subject, the jar. What is this? This is singular, right? So we have to have a singular verb. That's going to be has. You guys get that? All right, so now we're going to talk about modifiers, all right? So a modifier is essentially a describing phrase. All right. So let's say you have the sentence, after being beaten and deflated, the dough was shaped and seasoned by the baker. We have this phrase right here, after being beaten and deflated, kind of describing what what was happening to the dough, right? And a big thing on the SAT is incorrectly used modifiers. Let's say, for example, you guys see what's funny about this sentence? It's saying after being beaten and deflated, the baker shaped. It's kind of saying like where the baker was being beaten and deflated, right? That just doesn't make sense. So this is an incorrectly used modifier because we have the baker shaped here. We want the dough to be here, so it is modifying the dough. Do you guys get that? Poor baker, yep. So that's the main issue with modifiers on the SAT. You need to know where they're being placed. So I'm going to give you guys another example. And these are, oh, I forgot to mention, these are most of the time set off by a comma, like here, after being beaten and deflated, comma. These are most of the time being set off by a comma. Remember, I said most, not all the time. All right. So I'm going to give you guys another example. So this is an incorrect example of a modifier. Okay. Running fiercely to the bathroom, John's pants dropped, right? The problem with this sentence is saying that it's acting like John's pants are the ones that are is the thing that's running to the bathroom, right? That's just impossible, right? It's a funny example, but yeah, John's pants. This is modifying John's pants, and it's saying that John's pants was running to the was running fiercely to the bathroom. So that's just incorrect, right? So let's change this up. Running fiercely to the bathroom, John dropped his pants, right? Because now we're saying that John was running fiercely to the bathroom, and he dropped his pants on the way, right? Do you guys get that? How modifiers are used? All right, so I'm gonna try to give you guys another example. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys one more example, and I want you guys to tell me the answer in the chat. All right, there's gonna be choices. We have A, we have B, C, and we have D. I want you guys to tell me the answers in the chat. Yep, well done. Okay, Ria, we'll go over it, but well done everyone else. So, since the age of 10, tennis has been my daughter Kayla's fascination. Since the age of 10, tennis is since the age of 10. That doesn't make sense, right? So that's no change. It's describing tennis since the age of 10, which makes no sense, right? Because tennis doesn't necessarily have an age to be like a better terms. So since the age of 10, my daughter, oh, I should have underlined this, but since the age of 10, my daughter Kayla has been fascinated with tennis. Don't see anything wrong with that. My daughter Kayla. That's the modifier is used correctly. Since your daughter, since her daughter Kayla, since the age of 10, her daughter Kayla has been fascinated with tennis. So that seems fine. Let's look at D. Since the age of 10, my daughter Kayla's fascination has been tennis. So this one is weird because these both have my daughter Kayla, right? But the problem with this one is that since the age of 10, my daughter Kayla's fascination has been tennis. It's very awkward, if that makes sense, compared to like the other one. It doesn't flow as well. Yeah, and it's describing the daughter. This one's describing her fascination, but this since the age of 10, it has to describe her daughter, and that's the problem with D. So D is going to be wrong as well. So the answer can only be C. Do you guys get that? So let's just get on to run-ons. All right. So most of you should know what a run-on is by now. If you went to elementary school, a run-on is basically several complete sentences being mashed together, and they usually take on the form of like complete sentence, sentence, comma, complete sentence, I cannot write. Or they just have complete sentence and they just continue on with another complete sentence, right? So those are the most common forms of run-ons. Excuse me. But the main way we want to fix these, right, is by using periods or semicolons. And a period is used to separate two complete sentences, correct? Two independent clauses. It's a complete sentence, same thing. And so is the same, and so is a semicolon. A period and a semicolon really have the same function, but the only difference is that semicolon is usually used to conjoin two sentences. Usually they're on the same topic or they're very correlated, but they are still they're two complete sentences. So that's why a semicolon is used sometimes, right? But other than that, the ways we fix run-ons are by using periods. I'm just going to note down stuff. Is by using periods, using a conjunction, right? So let's say he was hungry. So, right? He bought a burrito. This fixes the run-on that could be he was hungry, he bought a burrito, right? That's a weird sentence, but you can use a conjunction to separate two sentences or compound them, to be exact. Use a semicolon, as I said earlier. So you can change the words around too to use to no longer have two complete sentences, right? So you see how we had earlier, he was hungry, so he bought a burrito. Let's say we have because he was hungry, right? He bought a burrito. This is a complete sentence now. It's not a run-on at all. Do you guys get that? So we can change words. We can use relative clauses, right? We can say, this is an example of that complete sentence, comma, complete sentence thing, right? Earlier. A way we can just change this is by saying the teacher yelled at Alicia, who, instead of saying she, we can say who had left her homework at home, right? Now we have one complete sentence. It's not a run-on at all, and we used a relative clause to fix it. All right, so that's just an example of using a relative clause. And we can use a noun phrase set off by commas, right? So let's say yesterday, Russia deployed troops on the border. This is a clear violation of the peace agreement. My computer's going really slow for some reason now. But here we have yesterday, Russia deployed troops on the border. This is a clear violation of the peace agreement. This is a run-on sentence. As said earlier, it's just set off by this one comma, but there's still two complete sentences. How can we change this? We can change this by deleting this. This is a clear. This is, just have the comma there. Yesterday, Russia deployed troops on the border. A clear violation of the peace agreement. Right? This noun phrase is kind of describing, in essence, what this is, right? Right? Russia deployed troops on the border, which is a clear violation. You can think of it like that. Do you guys get that? All right. There's a few more ways. I'm just gonna list them out. We could use a modifier. Well, we just learned about that, and we can use and to join verbs, right? So let's say we have this sentence. James turned up the music. He danced like there was no tomorrow. Okay. You see this sentence, how, again, we're using a comma, but these are two complete sentences. So this is a run-on. How can we change it by using using and to join verbs, right? We can just plug in here. James turned up the music and he danced like there was no tomorrow. And there you go. It's not a run-on anymore. Right? Do you guys get that? Alrighty, cool. Yeah, those are the main ways you can fix a run-on sentence. So I'm gonna give you guys an example, and I want you guys to tell me how we would fix this. And here, 1 second, let me type it out. Okay, so caller from Okay, my thing's really laggy for some reason. Oh man, sorry. Okay, so it's just not letting me type right now, so I'm just gonna finish it with this pencil. All right. So a caller from Memorial Park reported a man beating his head against the wall. He was heading to work. What can we do here to make this to get rid of this run-on sentence? Could you guys answer me in the answer that in the chat? Can you guys use one of the things I said here? A period, conjunction, semicolon, change the words around, relative clauses, a noun phrase set off by commas, a modifier, use and to join verbs. Can you guys use one of these ways to make this not a run-on anymore? Well, yeah, okay, so no one else is answering, but I'll just tell you a really easy way we can do this. A caller from Memorial Park reported a man beating his head against the wall, comma, he was heading to work, right? It's complete. Earlier was a run-on, now it's a complete sentence. Do you guys get that? How easy that was? Just put a comma right there. Once you read a lot, trust me, when you read a lot, you will, overthinking is a problem, but once you read a lot, you can just see the things right away. You know what I mean? And that's what we really encourage in this course. We really encourage you guys read a lot on your own literature. We recommend books like 1984, Animal Farm. And you guys can always ask questions in the Discord server about any resources you need help finding or anything really. All right. So do you guys get this? Get this? All right. So it's almost 5 o'clock. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you guys a 5-minute break. a 5-minute brain break. You guys can just stretch, get some water for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and finish up the lesson. You guys good with that? All right. So we basically went through almost everything. Now we just have one more section left for today. So all we have, so our last thing for today will be fragments. All right. So what's a fragment? It's an incomplete sentence. Now, how do we identify a fragment? We have to identify what makes a complete sentence, right? And what makes a complete sentence is it has a subject, it has a predicate, which is basically like an action verb, and it is a complete thought, right? And that's what makes up a sentence. So let's say we have this. So is this a fragment or is this a complete sentence? Could you guys answer me in the chat? Yep, you guys are right. It's a fragment. It just doesn't, it's just not a complete sentence. So on the SAT, you'll commonly see fragments that are like where the entire sentence is a relative clause or a depending clause or a gerund phrase. And most of the time, to like identify or indicate that something is a fragment, you can just read the whole thing out loud and it will sound weird in the end most of the time. And if it does, it's chances are it is a sentence fragment, right? So I'm gonna give you guys an example real quick. So do you guys think this is a complete sentence or a fragment, right? It is a fragment because it's not a complete thought, right? They're missing something. And this is a relative clause. Also, you should notice that. People who have a sense of the, right? What can we do to the to make this a complete sentence, right? We can add a few words, like just make me sick, right? People who have a sense of entitlement and feel absolutely no sympathy for those less fortunate, even when they take advantage of their services, make me sick, right? Now it's a complete thought, and now it's a complete sentence. You guys get that? All right, cool. I'm going to give you guys one more example. So I want you guys to answer me in the chat. What could you do to make this sentence not a fragment? Okay, a lot of you are saying, is my favorite person, was recently a scandal. Yeah. But what I did, instead of adding something to the end of the sentence, I just thought like, let's just add an is, right? Russell Brand, the English comedian, is being one of the funniest celebrities alive, right? I mean, or just get rid of the being, is one of the funniest celebrities alive, right? We have this gerund here, being, and we can just get rid of that, put is, and it makes a complete sentence now. You guys get that? You guys aren't wrong. But that's all I thought. It's just like simple. I didn't overthink. I just tried to not overthink. And I mean, it's not wrong, right? I'm going to give you one more question. So I want you guys to tell me your answers in the chat. This question. Everyone that answered, you guys got that right. For centuries, eating in a restaurant being considered a social event, right? That's just a fragment that makes no sense, and it's a gerund right there, so we can no change won't work. For centuries, eating in a restaurant was being considered a social event. Again, being is just kind of weird and is wrong. So for centuries, eating in a restaurant has been considered a social event. Doesn't sound awkward at all. It's not, so, and it's not a fragment, right? For centuries, eating in a restaurant that is considered a social event. Remember, that's not a complete thought, right? And this is a relative clause. And that's going to be a fragment. So that's not right. So the answer is going to be C. Also, one quick tip. I'm pretty sure any choice with being has never been a correct answer on the SAT. Don't take my word for it 100%, but just be cautious when you see that, right? Don't doubt yourself too much. If you see being as a choice and you think it's wrong, don't doubt yourself too much. I think that helps me when I'm taking my SAT. Okay, and we're gonna just gonna share my screen so you guys can see the homework. So this is the worksheet we made for you guys. We're going to post in the Discord server and resources, but this is the worksheet we have. Basically, we're going to go over this on our next class. On our next class, we're going to start with this, going over it, and we're going to go straight into the topics. This class went pretty fast, but the next class should be maybe a full 2 hours since we are including this. All right. Thank you for joining, Ria, and have a great day. Thank you all for joining, and hope you all have a great day. And goodbye.